This is the Lesbian Historic Motif Podcast, brought to you by Heather Rose Jones. The show looks at lesbian and sapphic themes in history and literature, and historical fiction with queer female characters, including fantastic versions of the past. We present research, interviews, news of the field, book listings, and original historical fiction for your enjoyment. For even more historic research, check out our blog. Before introducing the episode, I have a logistical announcement. I recently broke my arm, which is going to get in the way of extensive typing for a couple of months. Therefore, I'm going to be rerunning some favorite episodes from the past until I'm back in action. I hope that will tide you over in the meantime. Our fiction episode for this quarter is set in early 19th century Ghana in West Africa. The intersection of colonialism and female solidarity brings out a gentle, poetic love story. The author, Khayelihle Benghu, is an emerging author, poet, essayist, and dedicated nurse based in Johannesburg, South Africa. Her work blends practical care with creative expression, drawing inspiration from everyday rhythms and the natural world. Khayelihle's poems have appeared in Eyes to the Telescope, Person of Interest, and Ake Review. She writes across poetry, fiction, and hybrid forms, often exploring themes of memory, resilience, communal love, and hope. I will be the narrator for this story. This recording is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International Public License. You may share it in the full original form, but you may not sell it, you may not transcribe it, and you may not adapt it. Salt for the Unmarried by Khayelihle Benghu. The salt pans shone like broken sky. Ama Nyarko walked barefoot across the hardened mud, her feet knowing the path without thought. She carried a shallow basket against her hip, already crusted white. The air burned. The sea breathed in and out beyond the low ridge, patient and untroubled by human arrangements. Behind her, someone cleared their throat. Ama did not turn. The salt punished distraction. It required attention the way fire did. "I was told you would guide me," the woman said. Ama straightened slowly. She wiped her hands on her cloth and faced the speaker. The woman was dressed badly for the coast, boots too tight, sleeves buttoned despite the heat. Her skin was pale, but not English pale, her hair dark and braided close to her head. She held a leather-bound book like a shield. "I do not guide," Ama said. "I harvest." The woman swallowed. "I only need to observe." Ama considered her. Another clerk, then. Another mouth sent by men who never stepped into the pans themselves. "You may stand there," Ama said, pointing to a strip of shade near the salt sheds. "If you step into the pans without knowing, you will ruin weeks of work." "I won't," the woman said quickly. "I'm Elizabeth Hartwell." Ama nodded once. Names were exchanged lightly here, like greetings. "Ama Nyarko." Elizabeth smiled, then seemed to remember herself, and smoothed her expression into something official. They worked in silence for a while. Elizabeth's pencil scratched, Ama's basket filled, and the sun climbed. Gulls argued overhead. The salt hissed faintly beneath the sun's weight, a sound like breath caught in the throat. "What happens if it rains?" Elizabeth asked at last. Ama paused. "Then we wait again. Salt is patience made visible." Elizabeth nodded, writing. "The governor wishes to understand production methods." Ama laughed once, sharp. "The governor wishes to own them." Elizabeth did not deny it. She had not expected the salt to be so alive, not just the crystals, but the women who coaxed them from the earth. She had imagined a process, a system, something she could chart and quantify. But here, the work resisted her categories. It was not a factory, but something closer to a rhythm, a pulse that refused to be reduced to machinery. Each gesture carried memory. each repetition a difference, more like song than system. That night, Amma dreamed of water rising through the pans, washing everything back into the sea. When she woke, she found Elizabeth waiting near the fire, rubbing oil into blistered hands. "You didn't listen," Amma said. Elizabeth winced. "I thought I could help." "You cannot help salt by touching it." Elizabeth looked up. "Can you teach me?" Amma should have refused. She did not. The days folded into one another. Elizabeth learned where to step, how to skim without breaking the surface, how to read the wind. Her hands toughened and her speech loosened. She stopped writing so much and began to hum as she worked, low and tuneless, the way the other women did. They ate together. They argued about measurements. Elizabeth spoke of ledgers and quotas. Amma spoke of tides and seasons. Neither convinced the other. At night, Elizabeth stayed in the compound, her presence drawing quiet looks. Amma ignored them. It was not unusual for women to share space, to sleep close, to work together. It was unusual, perhaps, for Amma to notice the weight of Elizabeth's arm across her waist, the warmth of her breath at the nape of her neck. She noticed anyway. One evening, Elizabeth brought a mango from the market, overripe and dripping. They shared it in silence, juice sticky on their fingers. Amma licked hers clean without shame. Elizabeth watched her, eyes dark and unreadable. One afternoon, a soldier arrived with papers. Amma could not read them, but she knew the shape of seizure when she saw it. Elizabeth read aloud, her voice steady but her hand shaking. Crown Administration of Coastal Salt Resources. Compensation to be determined. Amma listened without interrupting. "They will fence the pans," Elizabeth said quietly, once the soldier left. "Regulate output. Tax distribution." "Who decides compensation?" Amma asked. Elizabeth did not answer. That night, Amma did not sleep. She met with the elders before dawn. Plans were made, messengers sent inland. Salt could disappear as easily as it appeared if one knew how to break a pan without leaving evidence. Elizabeth watched Amma prepare baskets with a careful slowness. "You can't stop them," Elizabeth said. "I can make it difficult," Amma replied. Elizabeth hesitated. "They will ask who helped you." Amma looked at her then. "Did you?" Elizabeth's mouth tightened. "I wrote what I was told to write." "Then you have already chosen," Amma said. The words landed harder than Amma intended. Elizabeth reached for her. Amma stepped away. That night, the air was heavy with coming rain. Elizabeth came to Amma's mat without asking. They lay facing each other, close enough to share breath. "I do not have words for what I am to you," Elizabeth said, "but I know what it will cost me." Amma studied her face, the fear, the resolve. Words are not required. Elizabeth touched Amma's hand, tentative, reverent. Their bodies came together without ceremony, without promise. An embrace was not the joining of futures. It was an acknowledgement of labor shared, of risk taken, of something precise and fragile in a world built to erase it. In the morning, the pans were broken. Rain fell hard and sudden, flooding the shallow beds, carrying salt back into the sea. The soldiers arrived 2 days later. They found damage, confusion, resistance. They found Elizabeth gone. Amma learned later that Elizabeth had resigned her post, citing illness. She left with a small trunk and no recommendation. Months passed. Some pans were reclaimed and others were lost. Life continued unevenly as it always had. On certain mornings, Amma tasted the salt and thought of hands that had learned patience beside hers. The sea did not remember Elizabeth Hartwell, but Amma did, and that, she decided, was enough. Sometimes, when the wind came from the west, carrying the scent of brine and distant rain, Amma would pause mid-harvest and look to the horizon, not in longing, but in recognition, as if somewhere, across the water, someone else was remembering too. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Lesbian Historic Motif Podcast. See the show notes for links to people and topics. Most shows will have a transcript linked as well. If you have a book announcement, a topic suggestion, or might like to appear on the show, please drop me an email. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate it and subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and consider supporting our Patreon.